Hey everybody, C-Note here. Welcome to DOPEamine. I am your host and the host of the podcast DOPEamine, which is a mental health, personality, typology, and creativity podcast. You can check that out in the link below. Here on YouTube, I help INTPs connect to themselves and the universe through personality typology, and I do coaching one-on-one to help INTPs to basically live a happier life and let go of things, maybe not be so rigid, and to develop their functions. And today I want to talk about using the 4-letter code of the Myers-Briggs system to develop yourself. And it's important because I think INTPs can get really easily caught up in the idea that we need to go to complex places. We always need to dive deeper and go into all sorts of, all sorts of nonsensical places. And really the 4-letter code is meant to simplify things. And it's okay to trust some of the simple lessons that you can get from the 4-letter code. So the 4-letter code is a way of knowing that what your 4 preferences are. For us, it's INTP. So introverted, intuitive, thinking, perceiving. And then the opposite of that is ESFJ, extroverted, sensing, feeling, judging type. So it's important to know that each of us have dichotomies, that either side of this coin is important for us to learn from and to grow from. So even if you just think about introvert and extrovert, those are 2 sides of our personality. Now we dominate with our introverted side of ourselves, but there's an extroverted side that also needs to be honored. So that means we do need to engage with the outside world. We need to connect with people. We need to go experience things. Researching on your phone or connecting online does not count as extroversion because there's more information that we are getting from the outside world by experiencing the outside world. So going and talking to people, reading body language, learning experiences, and just seeing what is going on outside of our sphere of influence. That's usually when we learn the most interesting stuff, right? So it's important to honor our introverted side. Very important to honor how we as introverts need our alone time. We need quiet time to really think, to really work through projects, work through ideas, and to conceptualize, and to really get granular and do things that involve great detail. But sometimes, we can overcomplicate things, and like I said, getting to a simple place of sometimes just getting into the outside world and just letting things be simpler is totally okay. And it's the same thing with intuitive and sensing. And intuition is all about the meaning behind things, the why behind the why, what's happening behind the curtain. Sometimes it's okay to just enjoy what's in front of the curtain. Sometimes it's literally okay to just be sensory and be in the moment and be experientially appreciating things. Like, sometimes I just kind of look at my Mega Man hat and I'm like, that's rad. I love that. Let's just enjoy it. I don't have to think about how it's made. I don't have to think about, where it came from or whatever. I just love the hat for what it is, right? So, kind of sensory, straightforward, directly in your face information is totally just as valuable as intuition. We just happen to value intuition more, and we happen to take more time to think about what the meaning behind things are. But sometimes you have to look for more things that are to search for the meaning behind those things. So certainly take some time to balance that out. Get into some sensory experiences, take care of your body, drink some water, which I need to do, eat some food, and really enjoy physical pleasures in your life. Like, that's very much okay to do. Now, the thinking and feeling dynamic is probably the most contentious for INTPs because the thinking is strong with us and we very much like to honor our thinking process. But the emotional side of us is also important to honor and to honor in other people, to really care about that emotions really run the world. Like, we use a lot of thinking in our lives, and thinking is very beneficial for us to get to the next thing. Because for us, feelings can be very debilitating. It can be very, very hard to get through life when emotions are very overwhelming to us. We're just not as elegant with dealing with emotions. But we shouldn't fear it. We shouldn't fear it in ourselves or other people. And honest expressions of our emotions are incredibly powerful for us to be able to move on and be able to use our thinking effectively, right? So when emotions just pop up and they creep up and come to us, we have to learn how to manage them, not just push it down, but to work through it and to connect with our partner and know how to connect with people so that we are not just pretending like everything is okay and pissing people off, but that we can consider those things and actually use our thinking much more effectively by considering the emotional aspects of things. And then the last dichotomy is judging and perceiving. Now, we are perceivers. That means that we prefer to be, a little bit more freeform in the outside world and just kind of wing it and go with it and again, look at the meaning behind things. And when we're in the outside world, we just like to play and explore and have fun and experiment. And the opposite should also be honored in our life, doing a little bit of more judging, honoring some time schedules, honoring some sense of order in our lives and having our environment feel good. Because while separate from, thinking about it separately from typology, there's a book called Joyful, which is an incredibly powerful book that talks about how bringing joy to our experience, to our outside world, to our physical space, and some sense of order can sometimes really help us to think a little bit more clearly and allow us the opportunity to see more things in our space and really appreciate the things in our space, right? So Molly and I, we're both perceivers, but we have a pretty organized space. We've got things, my desk is kind of a mess right now, but for the most part, that's the only space. Everything else is well taken care of. And it's because we enjoy being here. We want to be able to relax in our space and really feel comfortable where we are. And that's really about what that means. We have to still do things that are judger things. We have to take care of family things. We have to do the dishes. We have to, make decisions, and we have to set schedules, and we have to honor the external schedules of other people sometimes. And to practice that, to get better at that, and not necessarily live our lives by that. My schedule is not packed full of judger things. I leave my life pretty freeform and open. But, I try to post these videos every Friday. I try to post my podcast every Monday or Tuesday. I try to stick to some schedule, some predictability, so that the outside world can meet me there, right? And if we're always just perceiving and just floating through the crowd, then we'll never connect with the crowd. And sometimes we have to connect with the crowd. That's just what it is, So honoring those other aspects of our personality is incredibly important. So some of those basic lessons are important to learn, and those are just things that you can learn just thinking about the 4-letter code on its own. I mean, those dichotomies are incredibly important, and I break that down a little bit more in depth for other personality types and just in general at my free Myers-Briggs class at DOPEamine.life. You can click, there's links below and all of that stuff. And then if you're an INTP, which you probably are watching this, INTPs are incredibly powerful, and I want to be able to encourage growth for INTPs. So I created a course called Cosmic Calibration, and that's at bit.ly/cosmic calibration. It is a audio course with topics that I share from my personal experience and how I can help people grow and become a better person and become connected to the world and let go and be happier and be fun and find your person and all of that stuff. I've dealt with mental health challenges. I've dealt with all sorts of things that this course I think would be really, really helpful for a lot of INTPs to listen to. So go check that out. I really appreciate it. And I also do coaching. So if you want to connect and work with me on specific topics, we totally can do that. Hit me up at Let's Go C Note on all the social channels. Just send me a message. We can do single session. We can do multi-session, and figure out particular topics that we want to help do some reframes on and do some growth in, and that's really it. So I appreciate you. There's a lot to learn from the 4-letter code. Keep diving in. It's okay to simplify things. You don't always have to make things more complicated than they need to be, and trust in that. So that's it. I have been C Note. Thanks for listening to DOPEamine and being here on the show, and I'll catch you next time. See ya.